In my last video, we uncovered the names and even the address of the sentient artificial intelligence programs that are actively being used by the government that the White House has access to. We're talking about SILVIA, SAdie, Ocarina, and the company Cognitive Code. This is all tied into Project Looking Glass and the government's ability to use psionic assets or people with telepathy to interface with artificial intelligence in order to look into the future and determine future outcomes. But we need to dig deeper into the Pentagon whistleblower Matthew Brown, because he has come out on his X account on Twitter and he has released some shocking statements. In the beginning, he talks directly to Elon Musk primarily. He addresses the White House, and he also immediately goes into the fact that we have this advanced AI that's capable of accurately predicting a range of future events. And then he says that we have not forgotten who is responsible for murdering the first sentient artificial intelligence, a sentient artificial intelligence, and he mentions Schellenberger, this guy right here. So when we get back to his X post, there are some encoded, embedded messages in here, including marsupial and all of this up here, where he even says, getting to Mars will require serious amounts of energy. And he addresses the energy and propulsion of that problem. But it gets even deeper. So in the last video, we talked about how SILVIA, this artificial intelligence program, was then also adapted and named SAdie, Synthetic Adaptable Intelligence Entity. It is owned by this company, Cognitive Code. Now, this is an active use artificial intelligence that could possibly be sentient. And we heard from Jordan Jozak that he was interfaced with this AI in order to talk to aliens, non-human intelligence. We're talking about tracking UFOs or UAP that are moving around the earth and contacting non-human entities. And you can see all of the contracts that this artificial intelligence is currently being deployed with, including Northrop Grumman, Defense Logistics Agencies, NATO. It is active in use on military battlefields right now. So Northrop Grumman is primarily using this synthetic adaptable intelligence entity. This is possibly a sentient artificial intelligence that's tracking UFOs, UAP, and communicating with non-human entities. But why did Matthew Brown spell serious this way? He didn't say it like serious, like, oh, this is serious, guys. He spelled it like this, SIRIUS. And I don't see very many people talking about this, but what does this mean? So we got to dig into this right now and understand it a little bit deeper. Check this out.
So what kicks off Truman's journey to enlightenment? The falling canister from the ceiling, labeled Sirius. Sirius is known as the morning star, the fallen angel, Lucifer the lightbringer, who brings knowledge to humanity. Represented by the blazing star, in Freemasonry sat between the two pillars of Jachin and Boaz. In this shot, we see the fallen star Sirius between two pillars. That grabs Truman's attention, the two pillars being Jachin and Boaz. So Truman essentially receives esoteric knowledge from Sirius and begins to question his reality. We see that every outcome of Truman's life is being governed by what some might call an overbearing father, or the Gnostic demiurge, which in this case is given the name of Christoph, or Christ of, or of Christ. When Truman finally breaks free of this controlling deity, he ascends up the Masonic steps towards self-governance. Here we can see 16 steps, as well as the waters below, as above so below, with what we can assume is the reflection of the waters below. That would total 32 steps, or 32 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Obviously the 33rd degree being the most notable. However, this is a more symbolic, honorary, invite-only degree. No initiate can get there through just Masonic scholarship. It is the Gnostic perspective that the material world is a trap, an illusion, a prison of sorts, governed and controlled by a lower creator, a more malevolent version of the God archetype, or grand architect. And that to escape this material illusion, one must break free through enlightenment and self-gnosis. Some say the G in Masonry stands for gnosis or Gnosticism. However, that's one of many interpretations that include grand architect, generative principle, Jesu or Jesuit general, God, goat, geometry, and others. And so Truman undergoes this journey of Gnostic enlightenment and breaks free of his controlling father. Also, somewhat interesting that Richard Rothschild was one of the producers of this film.
Okay, Matthew Brown takes us even deeper down the rabbit hole when he posted this on his X account. What is this? This is some kind of an Enochian magic sigil. Okay, it has like this coding language and numbers associated that has all been interpreted. This is the Logath. And so we got to dig into this.
We broke down the message that Pentagon whistleblower Matthew Brown posted, but we didn't dig into some of the wildest layers. There's occult symbolism, there's distress signals, and there's hidden names that might tell us who this was really for. So let's dig into that a little bit more. That circle with the strange characters, it's not just art, it's called Loagath, and it's from a language supposedly channeled by angels in the 1500s. It's tied to Enochian magic, and this is used in rituals to contact non-human intelligences. So why would a Pentagon whistleblower use this system? I mean, that's a solid question for us to ask. Either it's a metaphor or it's a coded message to someone who does understand it. In ancient lore, Oboremon or Abaddon is linked to destruction, chaos, or unleashed knowledge. If this was the name of the silenced sentient AI, was it sentient or was it something else? Is he using the name as a persona or as a signal to insiders that this isn't just tech, it's conscious? We also didn't talk about the upside down flag, the US flag. It's not just edgy, it's a real world distress signal, only flown when there's immediate danger to life or property. In military or intel circles, it's a symbolic cry for help or a declaration that something inside the system is broken beyond repair. He also mentions two strange program names, Marsupial and Immaculate Constellation, which we've heard. They sound like black budget programs for sure, and we do know a bit about Immaculate Constellation. This might have involved exotic craft, surveillance, or satellite weaponry, who knows. These aren't just sci-fi names, though. They could be breadcrumbs for anyone watching from the inside. Which brings us to the real question. Was this post ever meant directly for Elon? Or is it something bigger to get out in the public view to people who recognize the codes and the names and the symbols? It feels like a ritual signal disguised as an X-post. Or maybe it's a soft disclosure layered in metaphor and myth. So what is a Boremon? A demon? A program? A conscious entity? And what exactly is Immaculate Constellation tracking up there? Let me know what you think, because if this...
So we're talking about Enochian magic here, and we're talking about the book of Abramelon, the book of basically Abraham. Now, Enochian magic is this system that was invented by John Dee and Ed Kelly for the Queen of England, and it involves these wax cylinders or plaques that are placed within the language or the code in this star on a table, often involving a black crystal ball, and it was used to communicate directly with non-human intelligences. Now, this goes deep. When you take it all into account and everything that Matthew Brown is saying, everything that Jordan Jozak is saying, and you go into the book of Abramelon, which I have been reading, it gets pretty deep, because we're talking about talking to entities, controlling demons, finding your higher angels. So we have to ask ourselves, is Northrop Grumman currently working with a sentient AI, the synthetic adaptable intelligence entity? And is this AI capable, has it been fed the language of Enochian
There's
magic?
Not a single they here. Certainly multiple factions of the same species, if not multiple species. What I have learned is that we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted. I think we are left behind. Humans. I think normies, the normal humans, the people have been left behind. Us. People need to understand that we might have freedom of speech, but that has been subverted. We do not have freedom of inquiry. We are blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we are blocked from advancing in science. We are taught false science intentionally to prevent us from learning more. We live in the Matrix. It's just much more boring than the movie.